Okay. All right. So I hope that the audio comes in okay here. We had some technical difficulties with the laptop. Y'all know we've been having some long-term technical difficulties. So I'm hoping that, and if you're watching live now, I'd really appreciate it if you could comment below how well you can hear me, just so I can make sure that this is working. I'm trying something new. I'm trying these earbuds with speakers. I'm hoping that on my phone you'll be able to get the audio clear enough. I've haven't had issues in the past getting audio on my phone, but I'm hoping that that everybody can hear me okay. All right, so great, thank you. All right, so here's what we're going to be doing today. So I've been kind of working with this idea of dogs and energy, where the idea is that your dogs create a lot of momentum, a lot of force when they are pulling or exploding away towards a trigger, right? And some of y'all know, because I know y'all are tired of hearing me talk about it, that I've been practicing Aikido, and one of the things we do a lot in Aikido is manipulating the force of your attacker so that you can redirect it and do something else, right? So here is what we're going to be doing today. I'm going to be using a modified Aikido technique, you can call it that, right? What I'm doing is I'm going to be manipulating Christoph's momentum when he starts to escalate towards a trigger. Now, what I'm doing today is I'm simply just working on the technique. In a couple of days, assuming that the weather cools off a little bit in the evening, I'm going to take him out with some squirrels and do this again. I am doing this on leash right now because I do need him close. I do kind of need him focused, but because of how hot it is, we're obviously not doing this outside in the middle of the day. And I urge you, before you start doing this with your dog, to practice it inside the house on leash to kind of get all the moving pieces. The leash is going to be in my left hand, draped across my body. Christoph will be on my right. I will switch him over to my left side and practice this to my left side. I'm going to demonstrate the technique for you a couple of times, and then I'm going to come back and talk about it, and we'll do it again. Okay? So I'm going to hope that everybody can see me. All right, so I'm going to go get Christoph. I really hope that the audio is working on this, because what a day to have technical issues. All right, so leash, a little bit of slack, right? Okay. If you can hear me, what I'm working on is I'm keeping him close, and I'm stepping into his sphere of influence and having him move backwards. I'm going to try to keep him on camera a little bit more. Ideally, I'd like to do this with my laptop, but my laptop is giving me some issues. You can see where he wants to go right now, so he wants to go look at the squirrels, right? Which is why I'm practicing this on leash. I'm going to try it across the screen one more time. Okay. So, the idea here is to get your dog into the habit of having you move into their space. Now, you don't want to use a lot of force. What you're really using here is mass. You're using your mass to occupy a similar space, and you're simply shifting them out and away. If this is my trigger right in front of me, I want to shift my dog's positioning. I don't need a huge dynamic shift. I know a lot of trainers like to do a full 180 spin, bring the dog back, and that's great if you can do that. Sometimes this is not that full 180 dynamic, right? This is a simple shift to get your dog to where you could do a full 180 and refocus. This is to simply get your dog into the habit of, sometimes the person on the other end of the leash steps into me and you saw he's kind of coming into my hip and moving out. Okay, so the light, all right, so let's shift then. Thank you for the feedback, Amber. I really appreciate this because everything fell to pieces today. Okay, so I'm going to try it from a different angle then. All right, so remember, as you're stepping into, right, so I'm going to move the camera angle down so you can see my feet, right? As I'm doing this, I'm going out and then into Christoph's sphere. All right, so let's try this way. Christoph? Okay. This should be better. Okay. All right. So I want him over here. So we're both going the same way. This is the trigger, right? And I'm stepping in. And the click comes. I'm going to try moving it up so you can see a little bit more of him on camera. As I'm coming in, the click comes as he shifts his weight with me, right? So he's moving with my hand. I'm not using the leash. The leash is moving, right? But I don't want to tighten up, because if I tighten up, then I have to use a lot of force to move him, and I'm behind him, right? I don't want to do that. No, we're not. We're not lazing and watching the squirrels. So as we come in, and then in, right? So right across. I'm going to show it from the side a little bit. Okay. So as I am getting him, the click comes when he moves with me, right? When he starts, I know, I'm so proud of you. When he starts to, Christoph, I can't see this. Thank you. When he starts to move into kind of this little gap that I'm creating right behind my hip, right? So right behind my hip is going to be a little gap. He's very excited to do this. And that's where I want him to kind of squeeze in. Right? Now that's, again, we're moving in and we're moving slightly. We're not making a big dynamic movement. This isn't it. This is just taking that momentum. If you imagine a dog kind of being an arrow that's being shot out of a bow, what we're doing is we're not turning that arrow 180 degrees and then forcing it another direction. We're just giving a gentle breeze to kind of push it slightly off course. And that's all we're doing here. We're not going to use a lot of force, buddy. Thank you. We're not going to use a lot of force here. We're just using just enough mass to move mass. Now, you got to be careful when you're doing this with little dogs, mainly because little dogs like to wind up underneath your feet. I am going to do this eventually with Christoph, or with Flynn and maybe Philip. So I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it from the other side with him on the leash hand, right? So he's going to be on my left side, which is less than ideal. The leash will be hanging in between us. There won't be, the leash coming with me. So let's see how that goes, right? This will be my weak side here. All right. All right, so remember, right? Now, as I'm doing this across my body, I'm going to have to drop a touch. Hang on, we're going to circle and we're going to try this. Touch. You can see I'm stepping in, right? Okay. Touch. And I'll put my hand right on his nose. He's moving with my hand, right? He's keeping pretty good contact. I'm not using any force. I'm not holding his nose, right? Let's do this with an open palm real quick. So anywhere my hand's going, he's going, right? So that's the idea, is if I'm doing it across my body, trigger's over here. Trigger's across from me. And I have to reach across to get my dog. Turn around. All right, come on. Now, I'm going to critique myself in just a second. Now, I'll tell you what I'm doing wrong. Now, I'll tell you why I'm doing it wrong. First off, turn around. Nope, didn't really quite get that. Watch where my elbow is. I don't want it out here. Ideally, I want it right here. Okay. Christoph? Okay, so I'm trying this a couple of different ways. If this looks a little less than polished, it's because it is. This is a new technique for me. Again, what I'm doing is I'm taking the joys of having a giant child, right? The joys. I'm taking my body mass and I'm just simply shifting it to the side. In Aikido, we call this entering. The technique is usually called a rimi, and it just looks like a step into a person, right? What we're doing here with Christoph is sometimes I'm dropping a touch and he's following my hand. He's not being moved. I'm not forcing him to turn. He's following my hand out, right? Sometimes I'm not even doing that. Sometimes I'm simply stepping into him and I'm clicking as long as he kind of moves with me. Am I using a little bit of force here? Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, yeah. And when you're working on a new technique and you're trying not to have a lot of muscle with it, you wind up using a lot more muscle than you... Buddy, I know they're here to see you, but I'm the one that talks. Thank you. You're using a lot of muscle. You're using a lot of force. And the idea here is not to use force. The idea here is that your dog kind of starts becoming in tune with you. And as you shift, he shifts. Right? So as you shift, he shifts. So person, dog, person starts to change. The dog starts moving with. Right? There's no force. There's no leash yanking. There's no tightening. There's no prong collars or chokes. You know, I've got to move. None of that. My mass, my body, the space that my body occupies shifts, and my dog shifts with me. All right, we're going to try this again. I'm going to do one more run, and then I'm going to kind of wrap it up because this is a short training session. This is not a full-blown discussion today. All right, again, we're going to do it on this side. So again, leash in the offhand, right? This is my right hand. I know it kind of looks like it's my left, but it's all right. Let's see real quick. Interested in how I'll do this with a small dog. You're willing to wait a few minutes? I'll go leash up Flynn and we'll do this with Flynn. But really when I'm doing this with a small dog, I may have to get my wife to kind of help with that. Because in that case, I really want to keep, let's say we're doing this with Philip, right? I would really want to keep the ball of my foot. He knows I have treats. That's why wherever the hand goes, his nose is following. I want to keep the ball of my foot in constant contact with the ground. If I'm doing this with a small dog, I would like to keep my foot in constant contact. I don't want any daylight between my foot and the ground. The thing you have to be careful about with when you're doing this with a small dog is you are occupying significantly more space. You may not be doing this with a lot of force, but you are doing this with a lot of mass. So when you're doing this, keep in mind that as that your foot shifts to the side, you always want to keep the ball of your foot in contact with the ground. Now, you can't see it very well here on camera, but as I do this with Christoph, and Chris, thanks for watching. Hope you're doing well, buddy. I know it's warm out there. Can't see it. I'm going to try to back up here a little bit. Hopefully you can see a little bit. So as I'm doing this with Christoph, my foot is sliding. If I step, right, I'm going to step on a paw. I don't want to step on a paw. So I'm almost kind of doing this almost like a half moon slide. And that's, again, you're going to get another karate term right there. Bless you. So as I'm doing this, especially with smaller dog, keep your foot in contact with the ground, even with big dogs. Because again, you can see how much more awkward that is, right? I can turn this into a 180 if I really want, but the more I have to step, the more I'm going to step on someone. This is not a dynamic turn. Krista? Okay. Over here. If you could hear me, if you could see this, you would hear my flip-flop dragging across the floor. I'm really going to drag it this time. Hopefully you can hear it. I don't know what you'll hear over this AC unit. And even then, I'm trying to, at some point, I tend to do this a lot in the dojo. As I overextend my step, I'm overextending myself a little bit, so I am stepping. But again, if I'm doing this with a little dog, the ball of my foot, not my heel. You might feel like your heel being in contact is going to give you more control, and that's not true. Because the heel of your contact, the heel staying in contact with the ground is going to rock you off your center of gravity. You're going to be falling backwards. Keep the ball of your foot, put weight on the foot that's moving, right? So as I'm doing this, again, y'all get to see my nasty feet and flip-flops. I'm keeping my weight on the ball of my foot. Hopefully you can see that, and sliding. I know this is a weird thing. It's a weird thing for new people who are not experienced with Aikido, because the idea of self-defense and moving in closer to the person who's attacking, right? If I'm coming in like this, the best place you can be is like right here, right? The reason that's the best place you can be is because then you can get underneath me, get me off my center of gravity, and move me. Yeah, it makes sense when you think about it, right? So when you're doing this with your dog, the issue you have with your dog is their center of gravity is underneath you. They're kind of already underneath you if they're a good leash walker. Now, what's the functionality for this as a dog owner? Functionality would be is that I see a trigger coming before boxers move into a punch. Yeah, you're right. They do. That's why they shave their heads so much. It's they get in, it kind of ricochets off. Good comparison there. So the idea here is when you see a trigger coming down the street and your dog hasn't reacted yet, you're under threshold. You haven't crossed it. You see the trigger and you're like, well, maybe. I don't need, again, a 180 dynamic turn. I don't always need that. Sometimes, if I can just shift, I'm lining up and I can just shift it off just a little bit, I can move right past the target. Because the closer you get, the more you shift and you keep going, the geometry is going to work in your favor. The geometry is going to lead you to moving this out and away. right? All right, so Amber, you said you want to see this with a smaller dog. I'm not going to leash him up. Flynn's pretty good about this. I'm going to switch him out real quick, though. Kristoff, come on, buddy. All right, sorry. Flynn, come on. Kristoff, stay. Kristoff. We've been working on this. I was supposed to have some help this morning, and I don't. Kristoff, back in here. It's just been one of those mornings where everything kind of went sideways. Y'all are going to hear some scratching in a second. Yep. So this is save some more work. Actually, I will upload this on YouTube once I'm done here. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. Flynn is 35 pounds. He needs to be closer to 28. My mother-in-law lives with me. She's treat happy. Okay. So, I'm going to bring him in close. He's in close. Slide. And that time, you want to fight this urge to raise your toes up, right? You want to keep your toes as close to the ground as possible. I'm going to try this barefoot. This might actually be better outside the flip-flops. Yeah, it's a little easier. I could probably do it in tennis shoes or hiking boots a little bit better, right? Now with Flynn, I could get him in position, right? I know. And I could do a full 180 on him if I really wanted to. I don't want to, though, right? I don't want to do a full 180. I see a dog coming. Flynn's going to explode. I'm also now in between. I'm in between. Now, let's say Flynn's over here on my left side. This gets dangerous with small dogs across your body. I'm going to talk about this again, okay? This gets dangerous with small dogs because it's moving your center of gravity out, right? So he's going to come in close because I'm luring him with a treat. And then I'm going to step across in a touch, okay? I don't like doing this with small dogs across the body because what it's doing is as I go low, the lower I get, the higher my center of gravity goes up and out, right? So we can hear less scratching at the door. So the lower I have to go for a small dog, the more my center of gravity goes up and out, right? So if I'm down here and I'm crouching, I'm reaching across, my center of gravity is shifting, and at this angle, I'm kind of crouched, I'm in a half crouch here. My center of gravity is about right where my finger is what it feels like. So that's the thing you want to keep in mind with little dogs, is you want to keep little dogs on your dominant side so that you can crouch and keep your core kind of straight. So again, this is going to be a kind of an evolving thing. I'm going to make some other videos. I'm going to do this with Kristoff one evening on a walk with squirrels. Ideally, if I can trick the wife into doing this. If you really want to see that, comment below. Just put a comment on this video. Say, hey, Jennifer, please hold the camera for Ben. I'm just kidding. Please don't do that. She will kill me. She will kill me. But if I can trick her into holding the camera for me, and you can see this from a third-person perspective, and I'm going to set up a couple of triggers, and I'm going to step in and turn, right? Practice this off-leash. Or, well, not off-leash. Practice this on-leash in the house. Don't take this outside yet. Don't take this outside yet. Again, I tell my clients this all the time. When you're learning to leash walk, you always keep the leash in front of you. You never want the leash behind you, because if it swipes your legs out from underneath you, you're going to get one good fall. You're going to get one. You're going to hit that asphalt one good time, and that's it. So the idea here is to not worry about that leash pulling, that leash swiping. And so if you step in front of your dog, because if you have a reactive dog, where's the safest place for your dog to be? Between you between you and the trigger, away from you, so you're behind the dog, having to pull him back? Or do you want the dog right here in your hand, right here down at your side? Where do you want it, right? So the idea here is, when you're working with them, practice this. I had to clear out the Florida room, move a bunch of furniture around, pick a big open spot, put them on a leash, low distraction, and just simply work into step and then in. Step in until it's one fluid turn. Okay, for the people who have been watching, do you have any other questions that I can answer for you? I'm going to give you a second. Chris and Amber especially, thanks for watching. I don't usually have live people. I'm going to give anybody a question. But like I said, I'll try to maybe Sunday evening. And I will try to do this live Sunday evening. And there'll be a lot less dialogue. There will just be a lot of the technique. So I'll try that again. And we can do this outside. Hopefully it won't be too dark. And hopefully it won't be too hot. Alright. If you don't have any other questions, you can always reach out to me, leave a message, comment, text message, or email, whatever you like. If you like this video, please like, comment if you haven't, if you're watching this afterwards, and then share it. That's how I find new clients, and that's how I keep my business going, right? And if there's a certain thing you want to see, you have this issue, what's the issue? Can I offer some advice? I'll certainly do so. Amber, thank you so much, and Chris, thank you both. I really appreciate you both watching today. So thanks so much, guys. All right, keep your eyes peeled for another video. Like I said, hopefully Sunday. All right, we're going to be doing this in the real world. And what I'd really love to see is I'd love to see you practicing this with your dogs. Show me some videos of you doing this technique with your dogs. Remember, keep them on leash, pick somewhere cool and plenty of space inside the house, and just step in. All right, guys. Hope you have a good day. Bye.